Okay, back in the saddle. Next up, we have Capablanca, the Cuban maestro, versus Frank Marshall, who at the time when this game was played in 1918 was the strongest player in the United States. So Frank Marshall, the Marshall Chess Club, is named after Frank Marshall. That is, he owned the building actually there on 10th Street in the city, in Manhattan. And look, Marshall and Capablanca had a kind of a rivalry, I guess, which existed. Like it was like in only the mind of one of them. I'm not sure if Capablanca considered Marshall a rival, although he did respect him because Marshall was strong, so he couldn't be taken lightly. But definitely a winning record. And the Marshall Gambit in the Spanish game, the Ruy Lopez, an opening, was Frank Marshall's invention, and he had actually come up with the Gambit, had researched it and fine-tuned it at home. He hadn't used it in any games because he was waiting to use it on Capablanca, and when the chance arose, he did spring it on Capablanca, and Capablanca won anyway. So it's not necessarily a refutation of the Marshall Gambit, but it was a refutation of Frank Marshall. So like this is one of those rivalries that is kind of one-sided. Anyway, so this game was played in New York, 1918. Marshall is playing white, and Capablanca has the black pieces. So D4, D5, Knight F3, Knight F6, C4, E6. So here we have the Queen's Gambit in front of us. Knight to C3, Knight B to D7. So again, this is the Queen's Gambit. This is declined, right? Black is declining the offer of a apparently free pawn. It's not free. Black has a really hard time trying to hold on to this pawn, especially with this pawn formation like this. So bishop G5, bishop to E7, breaking the pin as soon as possible. E3, castles, rook to C1, C6, reinforcing the center, right? Standard, right? The standard kind of triangle formation. Which, by the way, if I may, just as an aside, when you look at Black's setup, like you can play this way against the D-pawn openings. You could play this setup against virtually, I don't want to say virtually anything that White plays, but this is solid and this is sound. So you can go for this kind of setup if you're having trouble with the D-pawn. So take a look at this formation and at the move order here, and you'll be able to employ it yourself. Queen C2, right? We've seen this with when we were looking at this from the White perspective, right? I mean, Marshall knows what he's doing, yeah. So he's putting his rook on a file that is likely to open, yeah.